How wild would it be if there was an active serial killer just casually living in the same neighborhood as you and no one even has a clue? You would think you wouldn't experience that in real life, but when you think about it, all serial killers live somewhere, and that could be just a few houses down. This list is going to be 10 horror and thriller films that center around a neighborhood killer that is hiding under everyone's noses. There won't be any spoilers in this video, so if you decide to watch one, you can go in without knowing the ending and who the killers are. I will put the timestamps for every movie in the description below, and also any streaming services the movies are offered on if they are available. With that being said, here we go. Number 10. Fright Night. 2011. This movie is the remake of the 1985 film and is about Charlie Brewster, who lives in the desert suburb on the outskirts of Las Vegas, Nevada. His recently moved-in neighbor Jerry, played by Colin Farrell, has his windows all blacked out, which catches the attention of Charlie's friend and geek Ed, who is sure that Jerry is a vampire who can't be in the sunlight for too long. As time goes by, some other friends and students at Charlie's school start disappearing randomly, and Ed tells him that he is sure Jerry is behind the disappearances. Then when Ed doesn't turn up at school, Charlie checks it out for himself and breaks into Jerry's house. As a result, he sees more than he bargained for and ends up with Jerry on his back confronting him. Charlie ends up getting his family and friends involved in something they should have never been a part of. But he now has to get a self-proclaimed vampire killer, Peter Vincent, to help him save him and his friends from an eternal damnation as vampires from being converted by Jerry. And will he be able to stop Jerry from ever harming another person again? Number 9. Summer of '84. 2018. Have you ever seen the movie Disturbia? Ever watched the show Stranger Things? Well, Summer of '84 is like a mix of the two movies into one, and is a really fun watch. Summer of '84 is a tale of lost innocence, and one of the best killer next door movies of this generation. The teen horror flick follows a group of boys in 1984 who believe that their police officer neighbor that everyone adores is a serial kidnapper and killer, responsible for killing 13 teenage boys over the course of the last decade. While they spend their hard-earned free summer spying on Officer Mackey, more evidence comes to light, and the boys find themselves closer to danger than ever before. Is Officer Mackey actually the Cape May Slayer, or are the teens' imagination and boredom just getting the better of them? Summer of '84 is a nostalgic thriller that lures audiences into a false sense of security before its harrowing ending. All in all, Summer of '84 was a surprise hit, and worth the watch. Number 8. The Clovehitch Killer. 2018. Another great slasher movie with a killer that you would never expect at first. A shocking revelation turns a teenage boy's world upside down in this chilling look at the evil that can lurk below even the most wholesome surface. Tyler Burnside is a young teenage Boy Scout, a volunteer at his local church, and the obedient son of an upstanding, community leader dad who is the head honcho of Tyler's Boy Scout club. Only one thing troubles the quiet Kentucky town he lives in: the unsolved murders in which 10 women were brutally tortured and killed by a psychopath known as Clovehitch Killer, which rocked the community more than a decade ago and was never caught. When Tyler discovers a cache of disturbing images in his father's possession, he begins to suspect that the man he trusts most in the world may be Clovehitch Killer, and that his deadly rampage may not be over. With unrelenting tension, director Duncan Skiles crafts a picture-perfect vision of the all-American family, and then piece by piece rips it to shreds. How would you act if you found out that your father was a deranged serial killer? There has to be a reason that his dad would do such a horrible thing, and Tyler is going to need to figure out why before he kills again. Number 7. ICU. 2019. When numerous boys go missing after a local serial kidnapper is on the loose, lead investigator Greg Harper struggles to balance the pressure of the investigation and troubles with his wife, Jackie. Facing a recent affair, great strain is put on the family that slowly gnaws away at Jackie's grip on reality, and their son, Connor, can't seem to forgive his mother for what she did to their family. But after a malicious presence manifests itself in their home and puts Connor in mortal danger, the cold, hard truth about evil in the Harper household is finally uncovered. Pictures start to go missing throughout the house, silverware magically disappears from the kitchen and ends up in the washing machine, and someone or something keeps playing pranks on the family at night. But when they find out the mysterious presence throughout the house, that's not even the most concerning thing with the family, and there are deep, dark secrets hidden way down within them. Will those secrets be revealed by the mysterious presence in the house? Number 6. The Good Neighbor. 2016. Harboring negative feelings of their get-off-my-lawn type of old man neighbor and cryptic hermit, Harold Graney, two bored tech-savvy best friends, Ethan and Sean, decide to play a trick on him, under the guise of a psychological social experiment. Thrilled with the idea of becoming the next YouTube sensation, the boys embark on an audacious project to convince the man that his dark and vacant house is haunted, and they secretly record his unmodified reaction with their advanced computer setup. When he leaves his house one day, the two boys sneak in and set up hidden cameras all throughout the house, which is highly illegal. But they don't seem to care. After they set up all of the cameras and get back to their own house, they watch the video feeds to make sure everything is working. After watching Granny for a few days, they start to notice something pretty odd that is going on behind a locked door inside Granny's house, and they think he may be harboring people in the basement. What kind of neighbor have they been living next to for most of their lives? Number 5. The Intruder. 2019. In San Francisco, the couple Scott and Annie, played by Michael Ealy and Megan Good, are happily married and living the good life with each other. When Scott is promoted in his job to partner of the law firm he works at, Annie asks him to move to Napa Valley to raise a family with children of their own, as she has always wanted a pretty big family, and now they will have the money to support children. They negotiate and buy the old house that belongs to the structural engineer and widower Charlie Peck, played by the great Dennis Quaid. But soon Scott notes that Charlie never seems to actually leave the property, and he is always there, it feels like. Scott also notices that Charlie tries hitting on Annie very often, and it really doesn't sit well with Scott, and he voices his displeasure. But Charlie still doesn't get the hint. Scott asks his friend Mike to help him investigate Charlie, and see what this dude is all about. But what they are going to find out will make them reconsider ever buying the house from Charlie Peck. Number 4. House at the End of the Street. 2012. Alyssa and her mother Sarah move into a large house in a nice suburb outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Sarah is recently divorced, has a new job, and hopes to have a new beginning after her recent divorce, as it hit her pretty hard emotionally and financially. One of the reasons they can afford the decent-sized house they've rented is that their neighbors, just down the end of the street, were killed inside the house not long ago by their daughter Carrie, and no one wants to live next to the house where a few brutal slayings took place. The house is now occupied by the dead couple's son Ryan, who had been raised by an elderly aunt and returned only after the tragedy of his family and sister. Ryan isn't well liked and often has to face angry neighbors who seem to be more worried about their property values than his well-being. Alyssa takes a liking to him, but is embarrassed by her mother's overprotective attitude. There are secrets and there is danger, however, once things start to unfold, and Carrie makes her way back into the picture. Number 3. The Lovely Bones. 2009. Based on the book by Alice Sebold, The Lovely Bones takes a unique spin on the Killer Next Door genre and is one of the best Killer Next Door movies. Set in 1973, a young girl, Susie, is murdered by her neighbor. What follows are parallel stories as Susie finds herself in the in-between afterlife world while her family searches for her killer. Eventually, Susie discovers how to help them find her murderer, played by the great Stanley Tucci, from the Beyond. Directed by Peter Jackson, The Lovely Bones combines horror, tragedy, mystery, and wonderment all in one movie. The film received mixed reviews and a cool box office reception. However, Stanley Tucci received an Oscar nomination for his role as the killer neighbor, and the film definitively kick-started Irish actress Saoirse Ronan's career. She received 3 accolades for her performance in The Lovely Bones from the Broadcast Film Critics Association Awards, the Saturn Awards, and the Irish Film and Television Awards. A classic of the genre and one you shouldn't definitely check out if you haven't seen. Number 2. The Woman in the Window. 2021. The incomparable Amy Adams displays her acting talents tenfold in one of the best Killer Next Door movies, The Woman in the Window. Following the blueprint that Rear Window created, The Woman in the Window follows the agoraphobic Anna Fox as she lives alone in her New York City apartment. Her new neighbor across the street, Jane, pays her a visit, and the two strike up a friendship rather quickly, until she witnesses Jane being murdered while spying on the apartment across the street. What ensues is a twisty and dark tale of gaslighting, violence, and mistaken identity as Anna tries to prove a murder that no one believes actually happened. The Woman in the Window features a stellar cast, starring the likes of the aforementioned Adams and Moore, Gary Oldman, Anthony Mackie, and Jennifer Jason Leigh. There are plenty of twists, turns, and thrills to keep audiences engaged until the very end of director Joe Wright's bizarre tale you could watch right now on Netflix. Number 1. Disturbia. 2007. Easily my favorite of the genre and one of my favorite movies of all time. It's not like Oscar-worthy or anything, but I just love the movie and watch it at least once a year, and it doesn't get old. Disturbia revolves around the teenager Kale, who gets put on house arrest after a fight with the teacher, and is one of the best Killer Next Door movies out there. While stuck at home, he becomes convinced that his next-door neighbor is a serial killer, and it's up to him and his friends to prove to the authorities he's telling the truth about his neighbor's identity. While the clever use of Rear Windows aspects were praised, many viewed the film as paling in comparison and just a cheap knockoff. However, Disturbia was a huge box office hit and launched Shia LaBeouf's movie star career. The teen horror performed an award sweep at the 2017 Choice Awards and even won something at the ASCAP Film and Television Music Awards. It may be another iteration of Rear Window, but early Shia LaBeouf is definitely worth the watch, and David Morse is particularly formidable as the mystery Mr. Turner. Well, that is it for this one, friends. Any other neighborhood killer movies? Thanks for watching.